Have you ever tried flirting with someone only to completely bomb, permanently etching it in your mind? I guarantee you, no matter how bad you did, it's nowhere near as bad as this guy. The only thing worse than failing embarrassingly is lacking the self-awareness to look back and cringe at it, instead making the same mistake repeatedly. At least when you're lying awake at night cringing at past mistakes, there's a lesson there and you've grown as a person. But this guy doesn't stop making the same mistake over and over until they hit on the wrong person and the game becomes so explosively awkward that it's unsalvageable. But first, sponsor time. Did you know you deserve internet privacy? ExpressVPN says you do, and so do I. On your internet journey, anonymity is often disregarded at the hands of major advertising companies and the data-swiping thieves that profit off of you. Behold, ExpressVPN, your shield on your online adventures. With the click of a button, all of your browsing activity is rerouted through ExpressVPN's secure, encrypted servers, so third parties like data brokers or your internet service provider can't log or sell your data. But it's not just your privacy that ExpressVPN protects. For instance, you know those times when you needed to connect to a public Wi-Fi hotspot? If you ever asked yourself, is this safe? The answer is, not exactly. Public hotspots are some hackers' favorite places to lurk. If you're using an unencrypted or unsecured Wi-Fi connection, you could put yourself at risk. As for me, I value my internet privacy and security way too much to battle these online enemies without the shield that is ExpressVPN. So join the ranks of the digitally protected. Go to expressvpn.com/CritCrab or use the link below to get an extra 3 months of ExpressVPN for free. I just had to share the roller coaster ride of agony and romantic blunders that has been my D&D group lately. So, picture this. One of our friends hosts our gaming sessions and runs our games. He's the designated forever DM. His boyfriend is the problem player. Let's call him Trouble. Trouble, while not as bad as some of these problem players, is the worst one I've ever played with. The trouble with Trouble is that he's dating our DM, which makes kicking him out a whole ordeal, and trust me, we wanted to, because Trouble's antics are next level. His main issues were twofold. First, he would try to seduce every NPC he saw in the most cringeworthy way possible. And if that wasn't enough, second, his roleplay was just so cringe-inducing, as if he was making fun of the very concept of roleplay. Obviously, this isn't exactly what was said word for word, as I don't have a photographic memory, but this was what happened. For context, we were trying to smuggle an NPC, a 14-year-old boy, through town when we were stopped by a guard. Trouble's character, who we will also call Trouble, decides that the best way to pass through undetected is by seducing the town guard. He begins. Trouble twirls her lace in one hand and saunters over to a city guard, her eyes sparkling with mischief. Well, hello there, she says in a low tone. The guard says, Greetings, citizen. What can I do for you? He replies, remaining professional. But Trouble is undeterred. He describes her smile widening as she leans in closer to the guard. Oh, just wanted to steal a moment or two from you. If you play your cards right, it could last all evening, she says, batting her eyelids. The guard coldly replies, I am on duty, not looking for any distractions, he says, trying to end the awkward encounter. Trouble asks the DM if he can roll a persuasion check. The DM allows it, rolls a 9. But the guy playing as Trouble just giggles, her hand reaching out to touch the guard's arm. Oh, come on, don't be shy. Let's make some music together, she said, making sure everybody knows she's still batting her eyelashes. The DM just says the guard stands there on duty, not responding. There it is, folks. Legend has it she's still batting her eyelashes at him to this day. It's hard for me to judge people for their role-playing style because there is so much vulnerability involved. When somebody's role-playing and speaking in character, especially during intense moments, they are genuinely putting themselves out there. So for someone like me to sit here and go, the cringe, it feels mean-spirited. But to Trouble's credit, as weird as it sounds, I've never heard of anyone doing the D&D sex percent speedrun before, so... That sucks. He does this, or something like this, every single goddamn time he encounters an NPC. It's like he's on a quest of seduction while causing as much psychological damage to us as possible. The DM was the most uncomfortable with this, as they had to roleplay rebuffing their boyfriend every single time. While these RPs would happen, the DM would occasionally nudge him out of the scene and make it clear that this isn't the time for dating. But Trouble just wouldn't take the hint. After his attempts on NPCs failed, he turned his sights to player characters, even attempting to roll persuasion checks on them when they'd pull away from him. As if that wasn't bad enough, he suffers from male writing female character syndrome, where he describes his female character's body in the most objectifying way possible. Please, Mr. Trouble, I'm fighting the urge to not trash you for role-playing, but you're making it so hard. It's so funny and also sad when you can tell the guy writing a woman has never actually seen a woman as a human being in his life. It's literally that one Tumblr post like, she breasted boobily down the stairs. It's gross and just weird. Anyways, back to the story. This went on for several sessions, and us normal players would just look at each other across the table with a collective look of quizzical what the hell. I thought it would be demoralizing enough for him after his character was rebuffed by another player, especially given that nobody even tried to cheer him up or support him. We all just watched in a foul concoction of cringe and horror. I had hoped and begged to any higher power that might be out there that maybe, after being rejected by the DM, and now a player, he would read the room and stop. He did not. But still, at this point, his only crime was being cringe. He wouldn't try to force anything, he would just be extremely forward and persistent, refuse to take no for an answer, and then be forced to take no for an answer. His advances only happened about once per session and took up about 20 minutes each. So for the next few sessions, we would take his Riz attacks as an opportunity to take a break, refresh the snacks, make small talk, and use the bathroom. If that was the worst of it, this would just be a D&D mildly annoying story. But then, the incident occurred. On one fateful day, he attempted to get close to my character. This might be a good time to mention that outside the game, this guy was 28 and I had just turned 17? How does this keep getting worse? Even if Trouble is just role-playing and he has no intentions with this guy out of game, this is really, really weird at best. And I doubt this is certainly not the best. The term metagaming, okay? The term metagaming has a bad name these days. But in my opinion, you can and should definitely use your meta knowledge to stop yourself from hitting on a teenager when you're pushing 30. Everybody gave him the side eye. I hand waved it and just tried to shut him out, and the DM called a surprise orc attack immediately after, interrupting him. The combat felt so clunky and weird. Everybody was moving their pieces and rolling their dice, but behind every action they took, the player behind it had an underlying tone of, what just happened? He would occasionally flirt with me in between turns during combat. Immediately after it was over, the DM ended the session. I felt super uncomfortable with his advances, even though my character was an adult. I was already a little bored with my character, so to make sure he did not hit on me again, I talked to the DM and asked to swap characters. I would shed my adult Genasi monk and instead play as one of the NPCs we had sitting around. The human rogue. The difference? My new character is the same 14-year-old boy from earlier. Surely he would not make an advance on my new character. Surely 14 is too young for him. Just making this clear, this was a former companion NPC. Him being an orphan is literally how our party adopted him. There was no opportunity for ignorance. Long story short, only 3 games later he did it again. His character approached my character and went, "Hey there," in a breathy voice. Oh my god. "Please, not now," I said, trying to shut her down. We had a back and forth until eventually I just said I was very uncomfortable. She then offered to make me comfortable. This is the most uncomfortable I've been reading a story in a very long time. The tone of the story went from him being weird and poorly adjusted to now being an actual predator. I don't even know how to react other than serious concern. Everyone at the table was stunned. What is wrong with this guy? The DM called another orc attack but left the session as a cliffhanger, calling a swift end to the session. Our campaign came to an abrupt halt after that fiasco. First, the DM called a break for a week or two, then someone else did. Nobody felt comfortable continuing. The game had hit a slow point, so here we are, 3 missed sessions in, stuck in limbo. Our D&D game will probably never be back to normal. It's sad, but I would also be too uncomfortable to join after that. Sometimes you need to wipe the slate clean. The fact that Trouble is the DM's boyfriend is, I think, the main reason this game went from bad to literally unsavable, because there is no way to cut him out without making things weird in their relationship. Now, lastly, I don't mean to pry too deep into a relationship I don't know or understand, but if my partner was doing this, it would change the way I look at them a lot, especially because you can tell that the DM did not approve of this behavior. Anyways, this next story's called "Girl Chooses a Player Over the DM, so he tries to get revenge." A friend of mine from college asked me if I was interested in a homebrew campaign that he was getting together. We had played together a few times before, once with a DM for a one-shot, and he had done a fantastic job, so I said yes. He asked me to invite other friends as well. I invited some friends, but the only one who was interested was a guy we'll call Arthur. Art was a couple years older than me, going to college after finishing a contract in the army. He had never played D&D before, but said it sounded like fun and he wanted to give it a try. Art is the kind of guy who does everything 100%. So when he agreed to be a part of the campaign, he started reading through the player's handbook and watching videos to learn everything he could about being a good player. First session arrives, we meet at the DM's place and everyone introduces themselves. The other players are a friend of the DM, named Bob, and a friend of Bob's, Jen. The DM obviously has eyes for Jen. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the whole reason he invited Bob. DM pays special attention to Jen and her pyromancer sorcerer character, while neglecting Art, who was completely new, playing a human fighter. As the sessions go on, the DM introduces several NPCs that all say creepy things towards Jen, and she politely turns them down each time. Meanwhile, both in-game and out, she starts to flirt with Art. After a while, it's getting pretty obvious that they're interested in each other, which causes the DM to start targeting Art. He refuses to help whenever Art asks a question, or any time he attempts to do something cool. Enemies always seem to go after our fighter, as well as get random buffs, but the party works together and Art doesn't die. At one point, the DM flat out told Jen that there is no way her character would be interested in Art because his charisma and intelligence were both really low. To this day, I still remember the way she looked over at Art, and then told the DM, well, maybe my character just likes big, strong, dumb guys. That was the final straw. This is a hilarious way to try and target a player unfairly, because the DM looped so far into malice and hate that he is accidentally making the party more cohesive by targeting the tank. making Art more useful in combat by fulfilling his role. If I was trying to be a petty baby, I would avoid the tank and make him fail at his job of protecting the party. But luckily for everyone, that guys are not known for their emotional intelligence. It's equally hilarious how she responded to him by just leaning into his criticism, thereby defanging everything he just said. She could have tried to deny it or argue with him about it, and she could have won. But instead she said, "Yes, you're correct. I like big dumb guys." And in many cases, it's just a cheat code to skip arguments that don't matter anyways. If you can save face while leaning into their criticism, you will save yourself so many headaches. Next session was a dungeon crawl, and it was filled to the brim with traps and monsters. Of course, most of the attacks and traps required either an intelligence or a charisma saving throw. He repeatedly tried to get Art's character charmed. I'm guessing so he could either make him attack Jen, or have him do something NSFW with one of the monsters while she watched. Finally, we find the dungeon boss, who is some kind of homebrew buffed succubus with a few minions. Near the end of the fight, everyone is at their limit. Bob is making death saving throws, my cleric and Jen's sorcerer are both out of spell slots. Art has guidance, so he made his wisdom saving throws so far, but is 1 or 2 hits away from going down. Art has the sentinel feat, so thus far the succubus has stayed out of his reach. After another failed charm attempt, the succubus moves right in front of Art. Naturally, Art moves to roll some dice for his attack, but the DM stops him and says, "I only moved 29 feet, so I'm 6 feet away." Art gives him a look and says, "Are you sure you want to do this?" The DM pretends that he didn't say anything. It's my turn next, then Art's. I'm completely fed up with the DM's antics, so I announce that my cleric will be dashing to move 5 feet behind the enemy to flank it. Art goes next, says he's going to attack, and starts rolling dice. He gets enough to hit. Then the DM says that his attack misses because he's still 6 feet away. Art is visibly angry at this point, but calmly says, "I take 1 step forward and make my second attack." He rolls twice and both hit. He then action surges and makes 2 more attacks, both of them hitting. After adding up all the damage from various bonuses, the DM starts to get visibly frustrated, then says that everyone in 5 feet has to make a dexterity saving throw. I fail the save and my character takes a huge amount of force damage, which not only knocks him out, but instantly kills him due to massive damage rules. Art makes the save. He's out on the ground, but the fight is over, because I guess succubi randomly explode when they die. Jen's character immediately runs over and heals him with a potion. The DM told us that the session was over. I think there were some half-hearted goodbyes at that point, but everyone left pretty quickly and we all knew none of us were coming back. Fortunately, Art decided to give D&D another chance. He and Jen found another group to join and they still play together. I haven't spoken to my former friend the DM since then, so I have no idea what happened with him, but I hope he's grown and is doing okay these days. It's so perfect that the DMs who are just genuinely bad are the easiest ones to thwart for the same reason. They don't understand D&D. They just don't get what it is or why people play it. They can know all the rules and mechanics, but still miss the point. It seems that the old trend of bad DMs was that they would simply say that rocks fall and everyone dies, or force some other type of inevitability. But this new generation of bad DMs try and make it more sophisticated. They try to bend the game subtly, just so it looks like their target player failed, instead of the DM forcing it. It's creepy, it's way more insidious, but when they fail, it makes for way funnier stories. Because what's more pathetic than having the power of a god and failing anyway? Anyways, till next time.